Attention, Adult Swim, all kids out of the pool.
Yes, if you stayed awake one magical night in 2001, then you witnessed the birth of an offbeat block of adult programming that changed the face of network animation. 15 years later, Adult Swim is still going strong, garnering an audience of young viewers who are ready and willing to consume their unique, experimental, and often completely insane shows. Hey everyone, I'm Leo Camacho with ChannelFrederator, and today we're looking back at the last decade and a half of Cartoon Network's late-night spin-off and the man and the shows that started it all. If you want to learn more about some of Adult Swim's greatest hits, Robot Chicken, The Boondocks, Venture Brothers, Aqua Teen Hunger Force, Cowboy Bebop, or Rick and Morty, then don't worry, we've already got you covered with 107 fact videos about each of them. But right now, we're counting down the 107 facts about Adult Swim. Let's get started. Number 1. Before Adult Swim, there was Space Ghost Coast to Coast, and before that, there was Mike Lazo. Lazo began his work in the TBS Shipping and Receiving Department in 1984, and just 9 years later, in 1993, he was the Senior Vice President of Programming and Production for Cartoon Network. Talk about humble beginnings. Number 2. At the time, Cartoon Network had no original programming. It was essentially a rerun channel of old Hanna-Barbera, MGM, and Fleischer Studios cartoons. 8,500 hours worth of them. Basically, it was Boomerang. Number 3. Turner Broadcasting didn't give them any money for original programming, so the Cartoon Network team couldn't even afford to invent new characters. They could only repurpose the assets that they already had, and only the obscure ones at that. Ever hear of Lippy the Lion and Hardy Har Har? Of course not, no one has. Number 4. Lazo was a big fan of one of the obscure properties, the 1966 cartoon Space Ghost. He wanted a way to revive the old character, and after being inspired by the late-night talk show war between Jay Leno and David Letterman at the time, Lazo came up with the idea of Space Ghost as a talk show host, which would soon evolve into Space Ghost Coast to Coast. Number 5. The idea to use Coast to Coast in the title came from an existing project Lazo was working on, Wacky Races, and the idea he and the programmers had to cut up the cartoon to look like they were driving cross-country, or Coast to Coast. Number 6. A 2-minute pilot for Space Ghost Coast to Coast was cut together by programming coordinator Andy Merrill. He used rotoscope clips of the old TV series along with a pre-packaged interview of Denzel Washington. The scrappy ragtag pilot landed them the money for 5 episodes. Number 7. Every good talk show needs a band leader, right? For Space Ghost, it was one of his arch enemies, Zorak. Lazo and the team decided it would be way funnier to have a band leader who hated and wanted to kill the host, an anti-sidekick, if you will. Number 8. Zorak was first suggested for the role of band leader by animator C. Martin Croker, who then did an impression of his voice. Lazo decided that the impression was good enough to actually be Zorak. Number 9. For the celebrity interviews, the team hired aspiring actors to actually wear the Space Ghost costume out of frame. Apparently, those actors were not always suited for the role, often lacking the superhero build. This caused them to be laughed at by the celebrity guests, resulting in unusable footage. The Bee Gees only had 19 usable seconds after all the howling. After 4 or 5 tries of that, the team started asking the guests to simply imagine a superhero. Yeah, good idea. Number 10. The animators wanted Coast to Coast to be indistinguishable from the 1960s show. Technology in the 90s would have permitted for more advanced computer animation, but the team chose to keep the lower budget retro look. Ha! Hipsters. Number 11. The animators of Coast to Coast were definitely running against the clock because they only had 2 weeks to complete each episode, 1 week to do the animation. Number 12. For a few years in the late 90s, Cartoon Network would follow up showings of Coast to Coast with the 60s and 80s Space Ghost shows, with a weird laugh track added in the background. Number 13. At one point in 1998, Space Ghost was slated to get an hour-long musical season finale to feature Corner Shop and Yo La Tengo. This never made it to air though. I wonder if Zorak had anything to do with it. Number 14. In 1999, Space Ghost Coast to Coast aired an episode called Table Read, which was a live-action rehearsal of the next episode, Fire Ant. It included all of the actors and writers, including Mike Lazo and Space Ghost actor George Lowe. Number 15. The manic, non-linear talk show format would later influence one of Adult Swim's modern-day hits, The Eric Andre Show. Number 16. In 1994, Ghost Planet Industries was founded. The company would later change its name to William Street Studios, the name we all know it by today, although Ghost Planet does sound more fun. Number 17. The success of Space Ghost Coast to Coast opened the door for several spin-offs, including C-Lab 2021, Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, Aqua Teen Hunger Force, and The Brack Show. All of them aired, unannounced, in the 4 a.m. time slot. Are you seeing the seeds of Adult Swim now? Number 18. Lazo tried to keep all Adult Swim production within the William Street studio. He wanted editors and writers and animators to constantly bump into each other and share their ideas. Lazo himself shared an office so that he wouldn't disappear behind some executive door. Smart man. Number 19. Adult Swim officially launched on September 2nd, 2001. Their first ever aired program was the home movies episode Director's Cut. Number 20. Other names considered for the programming block included Parental Warning and Ibizo, which is Spanish for stop. Please don't stop. Number 21. To go along with the Adult Swim theme, the original bumps showed elderly people hanging around a public pool,
while a lifeguard shouted through a megaphone off-screen.
They were really trying to commit to that name. Number 22. Adult Swim's core programming philosophy was inspired by legendary TV producer Fred Silverman, who once said, "Look at what everyone else does and do the opposite." Number 23. The now iconic text bumps were actually meant to make viewers read. TV rarely ever requires reading, so the Adult Swim team decided to do the opposite and force viewers to do it. Number 24. Adult Swim actually has a bump team. The team works with Michael Lazo to create about 20 new bumps per week. Bump it up! Number 25. The text bumps sometimes serve as in memoriam segments for recent deaths. Some examples include Space Ghost creator Alex Toth, Neil Armstrong, Michael Jackson, Steve Jobs, and more recently, animator and voice actor C. Martin Croker, who passed away in September 2016. Croker voiced Zorak and Moltar in Space Ghost Coast to Coast and Dr. Weird on Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Number 26. The visual bumps, on the other hand, are updated every few months based on what needs refreshing. The ideas for these come from animators, creative partners, and writers and can take anywhere between a few hours to a few months to complete. Number 27. Early on in the night, Adult Swim has an Instagram-like format where they throw on cool imagery in hopes that it will retain their viewers. As the night goes on, however, they start to draw from other parts of the internet, like experimental music videos and GIFs. Oh, and nightmares. Oh, just kidding. Number 28. Some of the bumps may contain creepy Illuminati-esque imagery, but don't worry, they just draw on these images because they're age-old artistic sources of inspiration that fascinate the team. Which is exactly what someone trying to subliminally message you would say. Number 29. There's a popular creepypasta based on one of the stranger bumps that aired at the end of the night called The Dawn is Your Enemy, as if that one wasn't scary enough on its own. Number 30. While most of Adult Swim's between-show video content is shot using actors, every now and then, a team member will make an appearance on the air. Number 31. One of the keys to Adult Swim's success is their emphasis on cheap-ass productions. Their shows often cost $50,000 per episode. That's enough to make about 1 minute on The Simpsons. Production time is also much quicker, with episodes usually taking 4 to 6 weeks to produce, rather than 4 to 6 months like some other cartoons. Number 32. Adult Swim helped launch the career of hip-hop artist Flying Lotus. He sent in dozens and dozens of tracks to the network until one day, creative director Jason DeMarco finally put one on the air. Since then, Flying Lotus has worked with Snoop Dogg, Kendrick Lamar, and Tom York. Damn, thanks Adult Swim. Number 33. That's not all though. In 2007, DeMarco launched William Street Records, a record label based in the TV industry. The idea was that William Street Records would offer young artists exposure on television, which would mean about 2 million new people hearing their songs for the first time. Unfortunately, WSR eventually closed down because, long story short, Adult Swim is a TV network and not a record label. They not only had to put their focus on the TV side of the company, but they were limited in what they could do with the artists because of belonging to a larger corporation like Turner Broadcasting. During WSR's short-lived time, DeMarco did at least get some widespread attention for the duo Killer Mike and their EP, Rap Music. Number 34. Flying Lotus continued to pay homage to the network that helped launch his career. He created a secret animated musical alter ego named Captain Murphy, named after the character from Adult Swim's C-Lab 2021. Number 35. Speaking of which, C-Lab 2021, one of the original Space Ghost spin-offs, was created by Adam Reed and Matt Thompson, and based off the short-lived 70s animated series C-Lab 2020. Like Space Ghost, it reused pre-animated cells from the original series. Number 36. As you'll see, Reed and Thompson would soon become big figures in the Adult Swim mythos, but they first got their start at Cartoon Network as puppets, literal puppets. The two were hired to do the hand puppets for a program called High Noon Tunes, which was pretty much used to fill time on Cartoon Network in the early afternoon. They would come in drunk and improvise a deranged puppet theater until one day they set a prop on fire. They were asked to, stop the shenanigans. Number 37. After 5 years of C-Lab 2021, so is it C-Lab 2026 now? Reed and Thompson moved on to their next project, and because Adult Swim likes to keep it all in the family, that project was Frisky Dingo, an animated superhero series about a supervillain Killface and superhero Awesome X. Number 38. I know you may be shocked, but Frisky Dingo does not in fact star of Frisky Dingo. The show's working title was Whiskey Tango, which the creators had to change to avoid confusion with a brand of the same name. The new title became Whiskey Tango 6, which, again, had to be changed because it wasn't specific enough. They joked about calling it Frisky Dingo because nothing else could be called that, right? And the name stuck. Number 39. Killface was not originally meant to be the main character on the show, but Mike Lazo laughed every time he heard the name, so the creators kept increasing his role. Number 40. In 2008, Frisky Dingo actually received a spin-off called The Xticles about Awesome X's private army. It got canned after 2 episodes because its production company, 730 Productions, closed down. Number 41. Reed and Thompson's careers didn't end there though. Reed went on to create this show you may have heard of called Archer, and Thompson was its executive producer. Of course, that's on FX, not Adult Swim. Number 42. Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, was another of the Space Ghost spin-offs. Created by Michael Aulin and Eric Richter, it reused assets from the 1967 Birdman TV show, now having their superhero fight crime with the law. Number 43. From season 2 onward, Harvey Birdman was animated using Adobe Flash. Yeah, Adobe Flash. It made production faster and smoother, both desirable qualities of a low-budget show. It also proves that you don't need expensive software to create good content. Number 44. Harvey Birdman himself was voiced by Gary Cole. You may recognize his voice from a little movie called Office Space. I'm gonna need you to go ahead and come in tomorrow, so if you could be here around 9, that would be great. Okay. Number 45. Another popular voice from Harvey Birdman is none other than Stephen Colbert. Colbert voices Phil Ken Seven, the eye-patched co-founder of the 7 and 7 law firm. Number 46. Colbert has actually done voiceovers for other Adult Swim shows, including Venture Brothers, Rick and Morty, and American Dad. Number 47. While Space Ghost was a talk show parody and Harvey Birdman was a courtroom drama parody, The Brack Show was a sitcom. Created by Jim Fortier, Andy Merrill, and Pete Smith, it ran from 2000 until 2003 and returned with a single webisode in 2007. Number 48. Brack's father was not intended to be so small. It was actually a compositing error that made him comparatively smaller than everyone else. But the Adult Swim guys, of course, left it in because it was way funnier. Number 49. When the show first aired during its stealth premiere, it was called Leave It to Brack, maybe a bit too on the nose. Number 50. Dana Snyder got his role as Master Shake on Aqua Teen Hunger Force thanks to a few drinks that helped with his audition, if you call a voicemail an audition. He recorded and left messages on the voicemail of co-creator Dave Willis, and Dave loved it. Dave did the voice of Meatwad on the show, so they soon became voice co-stars. Number 51. Aqua Teen Hunger Force creators Dave Willis and Matt Maialaro created several other shows for Adult Swim besides the fast food flagship. Willis made Squidbillies and Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell, while Maialaro made Perfect Hair Forever and 12-Ounce Mouse. Number 52. Home Movies was created by Brendan Small and Lauren Bouchard and originally aired on UPN. It had been canceled after 5 episodes, but Adult Swim resurrected the series, and it continued for 4 seasons. Number 53. After Home Movies, Lauren Bouchard went on to create Lucy, the Daughter of the Devil, and later he created Bob's Burgers on Fox, which airs in syndication on Adult Swim. Number 54. Brendan Small had a prominent partnership with Adult Swim as well. He and Tommy Blancha are responsible for 2006's Metalocalypse, the heavy metal-centric animated series about the band Death Clock. Number 55. Blancha and Small came up with the premise after Home Movies ended and the two of them were going to more and more metal concerts. One day, they had an epiphany, and Small contacted the Adult Swim executives. He let them know that he wanted to do a show about a metal band with lots of murder, and that's about all he had at the moment. Adult Swim was like, cool, can I work there? Number 56. Small wrote the theme song of Metalocalypse before writing any other part of the show. He took elements from Queen music and combined them with crazy black metal guitar riffs. Number 57. After 4 seasons, Adult Swim pulled the plug on Metalocalypse. Small tried to negotiate with Lazo for more episodes, a call which ended in Small furiously hanging up on it, but ultimately the show wrapped with an hour-long rock opera, The Doomstar Requiem. Number 58. If you haven't noticed by now, Adult Swim likes to keep a small network of frequent creators. After the Boondocks ended, series creator Aaron Magruder began a new show, Black Jesus, in 2014 with co-creator Mike Clattenburg. Unlike the Boondocks, Black Jesus is not animated. Number 59. Adult Swim is known for taking over remaining episodes of canceled shows. Some of their rescues include The Oblongs, Mission Hill, and Baby Blues. All shows that were aired on the WB were canned before their time and lived out the remainder of their lives in late night. Number 60. As Adult Swim's shows began to expand past the original run of cheap spin-offs, they had to start bending their rules about keeping the work in-house. Certain shows of theirs are produced from external locations, like Venture Brothers in New York and Tom Goes to Mayor in LA. Number 61. Many of the programs on Adult Swim are animated at Titmouse Inc. Some examples are Metalocalypse, Super Jail, Venture Brothers, and China, Illinois. Number 62. As Adult Swim toes the line into stranger territories, they still make sure to balance themselves out with standard comedies. The Venture Brothers and Stroker and Hoop are both edgy shows suitable suitable for the network's sensibilities, but they don't follow the off-the-air or Tim and Eric quirkiness that would deter the average viewer. Number 63. Venture Brothers creator Jackson Public has said that producing an Adult Swim show from afar can be somewhat unrewarding. He said he feels like Lazo's stepchild since the infrequent communication doesn't always guarantee kudos for the work they do. Number 64. It's well known that Adult Swim is responsible for breathing a second life into Family Guy. After the series was canceled by Fox, it was picked up by the Late Night Network, where it quickly became their highest-rated program. Viewership boomed by 239%. Not even a year after, Fox decided to bring the show back, and it's still alive and kicking ever since. Number 65. Adult Swim aired an episode of Family Guy that Fox refused to. The episode, When You Wish Upon a Weinstein, was prohibited from airing on the original channel. Adult Swim had no problem premiering it as an exclusive. Number 66. Family Guy honored Adult Swim with a bump of their own. In the episode Big Man on Hippocampus, they inserted a text bumper advising viewers to watch Family Guy on Adult Swim instead of Fox. This episode aired on Fox. Awkward. Number 67. Beginning in 2004, Adult Swim has done yearly April Fool's pranks with varying degrees of absurdity. The first prank ever in 2004 aired all of the scheduled programming as usual, but all the characters had mustaches drawn on. Number 68. A major cornerstone of Adult Swim history took place in 2004 with the show Tom Goes to the Mayor, a kind of animated series created by Tim and Eric. In 2002, the two sent a DVD of the show to Conan O'Brien, Robert Smigel, and Bob Odenkirk. Odenkirk watched the DVD and responded with interest. Number 69. Thanks to Odenkirk's involvement in the show, Tom Goes to the Mayor featured a bunch of high-profile guest appearances. Some of them included David Cross, Sarah Silverman, Tenacious D, and Sir Mix-a-Lot. Number 70. Despite launching Tim and Eric's career, Tom Goes to the Mayor was polarizing among viewers. An outspoken group of people hated the show, largely due to its animation style and what looked more like a PowerPoint than a cartoon. Not even Bob Odenkirk liked the animation, and Lazo also admitted it was too quirky to really pull in the ratings. But, oddly enough, the network is actually encouraging Tim and Eric to get weirder and more experimental with their content. Number 71. Due to the success of Tom Goes to the Mayor, Tim and Eric have enjoyed a fruitful relationship with Adult Swim. They've created Tim and Eric Awesome Show, Great Job, Tim and Eric Bedtime Stories, and Check It Out with Dr. Steve Brule, which for some reason features John C. Reilly as Dr. Steve Brule.
Brule! Gotcha, scared you.
Number 72. Tim and Eric's production company, Absolutely Productions, went on to produce an array of comedy programs, including Comedy Bang Bang, Review with Bob and David, and the one and only The Eric Andre Show. Number 73. Absolutely gets its name from a home video of Tim's. During a family vacation in 1991, Tim asked his father to sum up the trip in 2 words. His dad's words?
Absolutely.
Number 74. In 2005, TBS split up Cartoon Network and Adult Swim. They still share the same channel, but the split allowed their Nielsen ratings to be tracked separately, much like Nickelodeon and Nick at Night. This impacted a lot of logistical television aspects, but in short, it's good for the network. Number 75. For their 2005 April Fool's prank, Adult Swim aired an unfinished pilot for Squidbillies. This pilot was scrapped and reworked prior to the show's official release later that year. Number 76. For their 2006 April Fool's prank, Adult Swim added farting sound effects to Full Metal Alchemist and Ghost in the Shell. Real mature, guys. Okay, it was kind of funny. Number 77. 2007 was a big year for Adult Swim. It saw the releases of some of their flagship programs, including The Boondocks, Metalocalypse, Moral Oral, and Robot Chicken. Number 78. The name Robot Chicken seems like it would have an epic story behind it, but it actually doesn't. It was simply inspired by a menu item at a Chinese restaurant that creators Matt Seinrich and Seth Green went to. At the time, they were having trouble securing the rights to their other titles, Sweet J and Sweet J, which refers to the line, Sweet Jesus, that their elderly characters would often say in the live-action shorts they used to make together. So, after having dinner and seeing Robot Chicken on the menu, they decided to just go with it. Number 79. Like Family Guy, Futurama also reaped the benefits of an Adult Swim second life. Co-creator David X. Cohen used the show's late-night popularity to leverage a deal for 4 straight-to-DVD movies. When these proved to be successful, Comedy Central picked up the show for a new season. Number 80. On April 1st, 2007, Adult Swim aired the Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie film for theaters. However, since it was April 1st, and since it's Adult Swim, they aired it without any audio in a small picture-in-picture window in the corner of the screen while the other programs played as usual. Number 81. For their 2008 prank, Adult Swim promised to air the Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie, and instead aired 8 straight stealth premieres. This included the second episode of Fat Guy Stuck in Internet, the unfinished Season 3 premiere of Venture Brothers, the unaired pilot of Delocated, an unfinished season premiere of Super Jail, the premiere of the miniseries Young Person's Guide to History, and early showings of Metalocalypse's Death Wedding, Robot Chicken's Tubba Bubba in Now Hubba Bubba, and Moral Oral's Grounded. Number 82. In 2010, Adult Swim began airing Rob Corddry's Children's Hospital, a parody of modern-day medical dramas. The show first began as a 10-episode web series back in 2008. Number 83. Comedy Central had also made an offer on Children's Hospital. Corddry went with Adult Swim because their 15-minute time slots were a better fit for the series than the conventional half-hour time slots of other networks. Number 84. The show was a hit and received 2 spin-offs on Adult Swim. The first was called NTSF SDSUV, short for National Terrorism Strike Force San Diego Sports Utility Vehicle, which was a parody of police procedural shows. It was created by Paul Scheer. Number 85. NTSF SDSUV had an unintentional backdoor pilot in Children's Hospital. They were short a minute for one episode, so Paul Scheer offered up a fake commercial for NTSF that filled the time slot. Next thing you know, a series is born. Number 86. The second spin-off was called Newsreaders, a parody of magazine-style news shows. It aired 24 episodes from 2013 to 2015. Number 87. Even though Children's Hospital had ended, Mike Lazo opened up the door for future one-off specials, which Rob Corddry has said he'll take him up on. No need to worry, the Children's are still our future. Number 88. In 2009, 2010, and 2011 for their April Fool's prank, Adult Swim played Tommy Wiseau's The Room. During the airing in 2010, they featured bumps of Tommy Wiseau being interviewed on Space Ghost Coast to Coast. In 2011, they followed up the movie with a showing of Earth Ghost. Number 89. Okay, so what's Earth Ghost? Well, in 2007, Adult Swim released a pilot for Low Country, a reality show starring George Lowe, the voice of Space Ghost. It never aired on TV and never got picked up. Earth Ghost was a reworking of that pilot with George Lowe replaced by a poorly CGI'd Space Ghost. Number 90. The spiritual successor to Space Ghost Coast to Coast was the Eric Andre Show, which first aired on May 20th, 2012. Like Coast to Coast, the show aims to look low budget and employs cringe-worthy tactics on its unsuspecting guests. Number 91. While preparing for the show, Eric Andre attempted to talk to Mike Lazo about Coast to Coast, but Lazo pretty much said, "Space Ghost is dead to me. He is a ghost," so. Number 92. Andre's aim was to deconstruct the modern talk show, which included having fake musical acts, bombing his opening monologue every time, and being criticized by his very own anti-sidekick, the incomparable Hannibal Perez. Number 93. Andre first tapped Hannibal as sidekick while the two of them were doing stand-up together in New York. He wanted someone who could balance out his craziness with a sense of humor on the opposite end of the spectrum, and they were both broke, so the dream team was born. Number 94. Andre had no money for editors, so he edited the pilot of the show himself. He didn't know how to use editing programs, so it took him a year to do it. Wow, the ultimate DIY. Number 95. ABC wasn't happy about the Eric Andre show, since Andre was appearing on their short-lived sitcom Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23 at the time. When their show's name started popping up in the Eric Andre show's press releases, the network demanded it be removed so they'd have no connection. Number 96. Despite the extreme and often illegal happenings in the Eric Andre show, Adult Swim has only blocked one joke, a country singer singing a pro-Al-Qaeda song. Number 97. For their 2012 April Fool's prank, Adult Swim aired the opening sequence of The Room, only to have it suddenly interrupted by TOM, the host of Cartoon Network's canceled anime block, Toonami. That led into a full programming block of Toonami, including Dragon Ball Z, Gundam Wing, Yu Yu Hakusho, and Astro Boy. Number 98. After April Fool's Day, Adult Swim kicked off the #BringBackToonami campaign on Twitter. Only a month later, they announced that Toonami would be returning as a weekly programming block. Since then, they've upgraded Tom to version 5, reintroduced Sarah, and obtained a bunch of new shows. Just like the good old days. Number 99. The 2013 April Fool's prank had a tough act to follow, so they broke out the secret weapon, cats. The bumps were filled with cat imagery, and the live-action shows covered the faces of the actors with cats. The usual Adult Swim logo was replaced with meow meow. Number 100. One of the textbook examples of Adult Swim programming is their 4 a.m. infomercial slot. These shorts are vague, irreverent, nonsensical, and all are made by different creators to parody the typical early morning infomercial slot. Some creators include Rob Hubel, Aziz Ansari, David Cross and H. John Benjamin, and Paul Scheer. Number 101. Of course, we have to talk about Too Many Cooks. The viral hit first aired in Adult Swim's 4 a.m. infomercial time slot, but it really took off on YouTube, gaining 11 million views and inspiring parodies left and right, including one by CNN. Number 102. For their 2014 April Fool's prank, Adult Swim aired a marathon of Space Ghost Coast to Coast, with bumps showing outtakes and commentary from the staff. They also premiered a new episode of Perfect Hair Forever, which ended 7 years earlier. Number 103. For their 2015 prank, Adult Swim played a marathon of Aqua Teen Hunger Force, but in the bumps, they featured an Aqua Teen Hunger Force edition of the Coin Hunt game from Fish Center Live, one of their online shows. Number 104. For their 2016 prank, Adult Swim released a bump hyping up all of their pranks from previous years, only to do nothing this year. The prank was that there was no prank. Womp womp. Number 105. Adult Swim dominates the 18 to 34 market for cable networks and retains an audience of 43% women. Likely due to the network's viewer engagement, 94% of Adult Swim's viewership is live. This is shocking considering that's the opposite of the trend in the 18 to 34 crowd. Number 106. Mike Lazo received lots of slack in October 2016 for not hiring enough women show creators and making the comment, when you put women in the writer's room, you get conflict, not comedy. He defended himself on Reddit saying, women don't tend to like conflict. Comedy often comes from conflict, so that's probably why we, or others, have so few female projects. Reports show that Adult Swim has the least amount of female writers out of any network, with their ratio being 1 in 34 versus the usual 1 in 5 of other networks. Yeah, get on that, guys. Number 107. In 2016, it was announced that Adult Swim would be resurrecting yet another classic cartoon favorite, this time from their own station, Samurai Jack. The show had originally aired in 2001 on Cartoon Network and was acclaimed for its artistic style and tone, but it never had a proper conclusion. Adult Swim brought back creator Gendy Tartakovsky to finish the show in their Toonami block. See? No cartoon is ever gone for good. Ever. Thanks for watching 107 Facts about Adult Swim. Which shows are your favorite? Comment below and let us know.